Well, hey, everybody, and welcome to Scouting the League. We're about to jump in live with Drew Fabianich, Executive Director of this Panini Senior Bowl. Neil Stratton along for the ride as well. But before we do, make sure if you have a comment, you have a question you want to get to Drew, to myself, to Neil. Let's be real, the questions are going to be going to Drew today. Make sure you head over, leave it now, drop it in the comments wherever you're at. Twitter is going to be the best spot for that, at RightStepADV. We'll get to some questions later in the show, and if it's a good one, yours might make it on here. Perhaps we can get those questions answered. Give Neil a follow as well. He is at Inside the League. You know Neil Stratton well. And make sure you give Drew a follow as well. He is at DFABESB, F-A-B-E-S-B, Senior Bowl. He is entering his second year holding the reins of the premier all-star game when it comes to the pre-draft scouting cycle. As I bring our guys in today, really excited to have them, really excited to get them in here. Guys, I'm excited about everything that we have going on with the Senior Bowl. Again, make sure as we get them brought in here, you're checking out all our websites, rsafootball.com, rightstepscouting.com, thescoutingcommunity.com, insidetheleague.com, of course, seniorbowl.com. And that's going to be the conversation today. Before you head down to the Senior Bowl, though, make sure you have your blue maca insoles that are going to make that walk a little bit more comfortable wherever you're at in the stands in the stadium. But Drew, second year holding the reins, a veteran of NFL scouting by way of the Dallas Cowboys, of course, former GM of the West Virginia Mountaineers, back for year two, an exciting year of the Senior Bowl. Welcome back to Scouting the League.
No, I appreciate you guys having me. I've always like talking ball with people that know ball. It's a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the question is, at this point, we're getting ready. We are into preseason football. A bunch of these Senior Bowl guys are playing snaps, trying to make rosters. We're getting ready for the college season. Camps are going. But again, big picture for Drew, how's it going? How has been, again, year two getting into the Senior Bowl? How's everything for you?
I'm a heck of a lot more comfortable this year. I felt like I was always behind last year because I didn't get moved down here until like middle May of last year. So the the pre-list process, I wasn't a part of. I wasn't part of stripping the board, and I got maybe 200 of the 300, players that we released last year, and that went out this week last year, but we had just finished it the day before the release. We finished it 6 weeks ago, which I feel so much more comfortable in the role because now I understand the cadence of all this. I understand what media, hits I'm going to have to do. I know when I'm going to have to go on NFL Network. I know when I'm going to have to do the civic pieces of it. I just never knew what was going to hit me from. I said I stepped on a lot of landmines last year because nobody told me where they were. And, guess what? I walked away on stubs sometimes because I'm like, damn, I didn't understand that was coming. And now I do. And so I'm so much more comfortable. We got the scouts set up earlier than we did last year. Because again, they were starting kind of from behind too, because didn't get them the list early enough, to cross check us. Well, they've had it now for about, again, 6 weeks. So that helps a lot.
Yeah. Again, I think about it in terms, again, 2019, I go from pro scout, which again, you kind of get comfortable in a role, to area scout, which is a whole new world getting out there. Again, I remember that first year, again, got out for some pro days, which helped because you see some facilities, you start to get to know some of those guys you're going to be on the road with. But then that 2019 fall season for me, it's like you're treading water, constantly just trying to get through the week and make sure you're parked in the right spot and hopefully your car's not towed. And again, year one to year two, you really get your sea legs. You come back much more comfortable. And not only do you know what you're doing, hey, like you said, you kind of hit that stride. And again, we're still going to have some changes, still doing some things with the Senior Bowl that's going to continue to move it, again, like everything, in a new direction and, forward direction, keep progressing. Do you harken back to your days learning as an area scout with the Cowboys? Like, hey, get through year one. Let's make sure I'm taking care of the most important things. And again, we'll just attack it as we go.
Well, a little bit. And Robert, I'm gonna give you a little story. Alex Loomis, the pro director with the Cowboys, he just one day he just asked me, he said, how many how many guys a day do you do? I said, how many they give me?
Yeah.
You know, and he was like, well, I can do like 4 or 5. And I go, dude, I said, there's been times where I've done 18 reports in one day.
Yeah.
You know, and and Will McClay always said, that's kind of a BS report. I said, well, you don't have a choice
Yeah.
because if you get too far behind, it's like if it's 3 days away from when I watch it, it's like, gosh, do I really remember this guy? Do I really? I mean, I got to go back to my notes now. I mean, I tried to get it within like 24 hours, if I could, just so it was fresh, And with these guys, I mean, I still don't know a lot of names right now. I mean, I do, but it's more, I still picture numbers in my head.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, I don't picture faces. Like when these guys come down here, it's like, I need headshots on the wall
Yeah.
just so I can recognize who they are. Oh, yeah, he's 10 or he's 14. I got that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it does go back to that. And again, it depends on the day. It depends on what's going on, what kind of other obligations I have. But I mean, I sat here like 2 days ago and did 20 guys, because I needed to just to feel good about them.
Yeah.
Because if I'm going to talk about a player, I need to actually watch the damn player. Because there's some guys out there that talk players that never watch tape. They never grind the tape. They never watch a game. They'll maybe watch 6 snaps and go, yeah, I got this guy. No, you don't. No, you don't. It's hard. It's hard work.
Yeah.
You guys have done it.
Yeah. And that's one of the most fun pieces. Again, it was when I was a scout. It's now that I'm consulting. You get to the pre-draft process, and that jersey number and a name becomes a face, and that's a huge part of it. And again, for scouts, as they get to the Senior Bowl, as they get to All-Star games, sitting down, actually getting to know that person behind the helmet, because again, you can talk about probably 5, 6, 7 games by that time. But again, it's like, okay, I want to actually look this guy in the eyes, and it's just a whole nother element, a whole nother level of, again, the draft process. Which again, you guys do such a good. It's a huge part of Mobile, huge part of the pre-draft process. So we're going into year 2 now. Again, you're a full year in. You've been down there. What was the one big surprise, or maybe the biggest surprise, as you went through year 1 that, man, I again, nobody warned you about, or no, even with your preparation, just was different? What was your big surprise?
I don't know if it was a surprise. I knew agents were going to be difficult. Um, I just didn't know that half of them aren't smart enough to listen. Because I'll have agents go, well, hey, I've got a second round grade on this guy, and I'm like, there's no way in the scouts green earth this guy's in the second round. I
No.
said, but they're talking to some area scout that maybe sees 30 schools, and they may have a second round grade on it. Well, as soon as you see the whole stack, as soon as you see the whole country go, and we used to make fun of the West Coast guy and the Northeast guy, because they'd overgrade everybody, because they really didn't see a lot of players,
Yeah.
and when agents talk to these scouts, they're giving them their information, but their information isn't a conglomerate of the whole damn country, you know. And I tell them, look, hey, this guy's not a second round guy. He's really a fourth round guy. I said, he comes down here and he may increase his value exponentially. I can give you, I mean, I'm sure you guys saw it on our X that our 15 highest gainers on 4 year contracts from where they were projected to where they went was $86 million in difference. I mean, and you're an agent going like, okay, well, I'm not so sure I'm gonna put him in the Senior Bowl. Well, there's 3% you could have had,
Yeah.
you know, and I'm not trying to like get their client hurt. I'm not trying to do anything other than just help the player get drafted earlier and show what he can do down there. Chris Johnson, Keelan Rutledge, Max Inochar. I mean, it went on and on. Jacob Rodriguez. Those guys help themselves so much. Caleb Banks. I mean, it was just that was the most surprising because they would say, well, we got first round grades on this guy. I'm going like, no, he's fourth rounder all day long. And do you think I texted that agent when they went in the fourth round?
Yeah.
That as soon as he was picked, I was like, told you.
Yeah.
You
Again,
know,
those text messages are great receipts, and it's one of those. Again, Drew, maybe it was again a tactic or something that different scouts use. I remember back on the road, there was that language difference between as you develop relationships with agents. It's my grade or our grade can be very different. Again, Midwest scouts see Midwest players, and their board is set in that way. We don't know again O line, D line, edges. Again, my guy's I may like him, but he's going to be pushed down based on the numbers. Is that something that you have found with agents? Again, one, they need to listen, but two, they need to listen to their sources too. Find out again, team grade versus individual grade can be a big difference.
I don't think I don't think even some of them don't even delve that far. It's just I think they want to get told what they want to hear, and and then they don't talk to multiple people. It's like, well, I've been listening to this guy for 5 or 6 years. Well, that's great, but have they been reliable?
Yeah.
And again, I'm doing the same thing I was doing, for the Cowboys because I see the entire country. I see all of these players, and I know where to stack them. And I'm stacking them vertically, just like the vertical board in 10 draft room.
Yeah.
Because guess what? Here's the 8 top quarterbacks. Well, guess what? If I don't get those top 2, then it goes to 9 and 10. You know, and that's how it's going to work. Um, so yeah, that was the most surprising, just the lack of foresight and understanding that I'm not trying to like hurt the client. I'm trying to help their client.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
these guys,
But
there's
Neil,
so many.
Neil, I want to get you in here because again, the NFLPA guys just you're probably awaiting results. Again, probably don't have those yet. A new wave coming in. You're working with agents more than any. You harp on this stuff with your calls and with the symposiums and the seminars that listening is a skill. I mean, how much more can you, Neil Stratton, inside the league, say like agents, you need to listen? This is the executive director of the Senior Bowl saying you better listen. Like if this isn't if you're not going to pick it up from here, what else can you do and what else are you doing to try to get that imparted to agents?
Well, the difficult thing is the nature of being an agent is sales, and Drew knew this before he started the job. He certainly has been reminded of that. And a lot of times, when a when an agent comes to Drew and says, "Hey, this guy's this round or whatever," you're picking and choosing the opinions that you want, and that's difficult. And sometimes it's honest, but at the same time, they can't have viewed as much film as Drew and his staff have viewed, and so it's hard to be objective. And the other thing about this is so many of these players have been with the agent now for 3, 4 years, whereas it used to be a 2 to 3 month relationship when you got to Senior Bowl. They're passionate about these guys because they are invested in them in a big way. And I think there's probably it's natural to feel a little bit more personal if Drew is a little more realistic about where they stand in the draft process. Drew, would you say that's fair?
Yeah, I think it's really fair. And like I said, they want to hear what they want to hear, and I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. you know, because I want to be able to come back at them and say, hey, this guy was a fourth rounder, and then he gets drafted in the first round. It wasn't because of his pro day.
Mhm.
It was because of coming down here
Yeah.
and performing that well. Chris Johnson was a top of the fourth, before he got down here. And everybody goes, well, how do you know? I talked to a ton of teams because I want them to be happy with the roster also. So again, I know where all these guys were charted. I mean, where they were stuck on the board, beforehand, and then where they go. That's when I took the differences. And if I'd have put pen to paper on the whole roster, I bet you would have been $130 million in difference
Yeah.
on 4-year contracts. I just didn't have time because I'm stripping the board trying to find the next group. So
Yeah.
I can't I can't tell you, that they're going to listen. I can tell you that there are 5 of them that I will never do business with again,
Really?
and they don't believe me, and they're going to find out.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, again, agents. I mean, we've got a lot of agents that listen to this program. And again, I work with a ton. Neil works with a ton. Drew, you work with them in a different capacity. But again, listening is a skill. Again, the good ones will sit, listen, and have some self awareness too. Again, there's this sales element, but also, hey, I know who my guy is because, again, not just their opinion, but they've asked 4 or 5 different people. So again, agents, take your lessons. Go ahead, Drew.
And some of them, some of them been really, really good, and some of them have surprised me because I was kind of had a misconception of some of them coming in, and the ones that I thought were going to be a pain in my ass are actually some of the most professional ones that I've dealt with. And I think that's a good thing. And I'll also tell them, I'll say, look, your guy is about 4 out. And they'll go, well, why don't you just invite him now? I was like, well, because I'm waiting on juniors right now.
Yeah.
Because I don't know which ones are going to come out yet. Or there's 8 guys that are better than your player right now that I have invited. And again, I'm going to lose about 20% from January 1 to our game just on the quote, training facility, injuries, and I'll go off on this one too. There was a nose tackle that was supposed to be in this game, and he tore a quad in training. Okay. Well, first of all, who gives a damn if a 330-pound nose tackle is going to run 5'3"?
No.
Who cares, right? Does he eat too? Is he heavy-handed? Is he? I mean, so like I said, there agents can be, as I always say, agents being agents, but there are some that really surprised me on how professional they've dealt with their player and with me. And I'll continue to be very friendly to those that do that.
Yeah.
Now, Drew, there are a couple changes that we're seeing over last year. One of them is obviously the move in the calendar day, and since I've been doing this in 2002, I believe this is the first time that the Senior Bowl will go ahead of what's being called the East-West Bowl. That's going to take a while to get used to. How's that going to change things for you, Drew, or will it change things at all?
I don't think it'll change things at all, man. I may lose 4 or 5 more guys in the national championship game, but I also had 4 guys came down here from the national championship game, and the span of time with that hasn't changed. You know, so again, would I like to be back a week? Yeah, but this is like a one like this is 20-year calendar because of Mardi Gras,
Yeah.
and it's the only time it's going to happen in the next 20 years. So we'll be right back to the next week, next year, where we're supposed to be. But we can't overlap that because if you have never been down here now, Mardi Gras down here is huge,
Yeah.
and hey, it's a 3-week long celebration, and there's no hotels, there's no convention area. I mean, everything's booked up. So I don't think it's really going to change things hardly at all, other than, like I said, I may lose a couple of guys that are beat up. My perfect example was like Miami last year. And, that I caught grief, because it was like, well, Ruben Bain accepted, but then he dropped the next day. No, Ruben Bain accepted in December. Okay. We just put on there, would you like us not to announce this until after your season's over with? You put that checkbox down. Deontay Scott, same way. I mean, I was tied with both of those guys. And, and they were so beat up that I told them, I said, don't come here if you're beat up. I was like, because Ruben was coming. I mean, Messidor was coming. All of them were coming. And that's what Mario bred down there. I mean, they're gritty, they're tough guys. But 20. Ruben he goes, Coach Fabe. He said it's 27 straight weeks. He said I'm beat up, and I said I'm good.
Yeah.
But the ones that did come, I mean, Brockmeyer and Raquel Bell, they helped themselves. They did.
Yeah.
Indiana. Both of them. Surratt was coming too, and he was hurt, So again, the ones that came, again, 4 of them came after national championship game. Maybe about the same, Would I hope for more? Yeah, but again, I don't want them to come down here and put it this way, I don't want them to hurt their chances of increasing their draft stock.
Now, another change that took place this year is we went from 2 portal windows to 1. And while one might think that doesn't have any bearing on you, I know that you've been watching kids 2, sometimes 3 years by the time they get to the Senior Bowl. Is it disorienting to have to try to go through and figure out, oh, okay, this guy was at Miami, now he's in Nebraska, vice versa? Is that a difficult part of the job that you have to deal with now?
Well, I mean, it's hard to keep track of them, but put it this way: if the tag's up, Neil, the only thing that's going to change is the school. He's going to stay in the same damn place on the board.
Right.
So we the scouting assistants just go through it, and it's like, oh, hey, this guy started at Tennessee. Now he's at Kentucky. I mean, it is hard to track, but it's a necessary part of it, and it's got to be done. And like you said, I mean, hell, some of these kids I actually recruited when I was GM West Virginia. I mean, there's a kid at Kentucky that's on the 300. It was from Cincinnati. He went to South Dakota and led the nation in sacks, and now he's in Kentucky, and it's Marquise Humphrey Grace, right? I recruited my tail off, on him, and it was like, okay, well, Kentucky just outbid me, whatever. But yeah, just that's always going to happen, and I think you guys know this too. There's enough guys now that are coaching all the players in the Division twos, in the FCS, because I mean, we only got like 2 guys from the FCS on our 300 because they're all poached. They all came up. Guys are doing, put it this way, they're doing my job for me, and they're doing the job for the NFL too.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
that minor league system is again, the good programs are that's the way they're using it. And again, arguably the teams at that lower level, again, they are prepared for it. They know if I have a good year, my roster's gone. I'm gonna have to turn it over. I'm gonna have to still recruit well, maybe a different type of kid. I'm also gonna have to recruit down some of those P4 players that, hey, were promised, didn't take advantage of opportunity, whatever it was. But Drew, you kind of mentioned that top 300. We've already got one name out there, but the full list coming out tomorrow. It's going to be announced on the Senior Bowl show, which is a new thing this year. First episode dropped last week. It's going to be every Thursday, but you're announcing that top 300 list tomorrow. Tell us about the Senior Bowl show and give us a little bit of preview on this top 300.
Well, the top 300, and you guys know this. I mean, we've got the area scouts, scattered throughout the country, and we put together a list of the 300, draft prospects that we have seen. Okay, because we haven't seen flipping everybody yet, and we narrow that down from probably anywhere from 2,200 to 300, and then it goes to 140 for the roster. But they're out there and they cross-check our list, and then we meet with them in October, and they present, and then we cross-check them. Just like the NFL. I mean, this is built just like a college scouting department, and it has been for years. I mean, I didn't think of this. I mean, it was already set up by Phil Savage and Jim Nagy. I just built it up even more. But that drops tomorrow. And our first guest on the inaugural podcast was Todd McShay. We had him on, and this week it'll be Crane and Cone, and we'll talk the 300. We can't talk all 300 of them in 30 minutes, but what we do is we're going to post that. It'll be on the website tomorrow, seniorbowl.com. That'll all be listed by school or alpha, however you can break it down however you want. It'll be posted there. It'll also be on X tomorrow by position. So follow us on X, follow me on X, and then again, the podcast is really an inside look at how we do things here, and give credit to the area scouts that we employ, the scouting assistants, my director of ops. I mean, because we got 14 people, that watch tape, and great players. So it's an extensive process, and we're gonna do anything from talking like Crane and Cone to talking with probably Charles Davis, Tim Brando. Then we're gonna talk to some general managers in the NFL. Probably talk to some GMs in college too. Head coaches on their off week. I'm already hitting them up and say, hey, Tuesday, you want to pump your own players up. You're plenty welcome to. So it's gonna be a mix. And I want people to see what goes into this because people think it's really easy to put on a game. I mean, we got over 350 volunteers, that help us with every aspect of this, from security to registration to the parade to the free concert to the security practice. I mean, it's a huge undertaking, and my staff is incredible. I mean, the scouting staff's great. I mean, the in-house staff is great. I mean, and everything's, oh, well, you just don't take this to the game, people show up. No, no, a lot more to that than meets the eye. So that's
Yeah.
really what it's about, Roger.
Yeah, no, and that's perfect. So make sure, again, I'm sure Neil's going to be tweeting, getting it reposted out there. He's at Inside the League, at Senior Bowl, at DFabeSB is where Drew is at Right Step ADV, of course. Drew, you talked again, that top 300 last year. Maybe it wasn't the perfect one with the way the schedule with you coming in there, but just because you're not on that top 300 definitely doesn't mean anything. Again, a bunch of guys play their way into that invite and onto rosters and extensions, all that kind of good stuff. Talk about some of those numbers that you had from last year compared to kind of the way it ended up with that initial top 300.
Well, you're correct. You can play your way into, a roster spot. You can also play your way out of it. You can play your way out of the 300 also. We had 64 players that weren't on the 300 last year that were part of the final roster. So that tells you how many guys can actually play their way in. We had 91 drafted. We had 100% get either minis or camp invites. 92% are still on rosters right now. So pretty successful roster. Um, was the 300 correct? Well, at that time it was. And some of these guys surprised. I mean, like Cole Payton. I mean, Jacob Rodriguez blew up. You know, I mean, there's guys like that. Heck, Keelan Black. I mean, goes in the third, right? I mean, comes down here, blows it up. I mean, who would have thought he was going to go that early? And he wasn't on the original 300. He was transferred. I mean, guys can surprise, and don't think we're not tracking. And I mean, again, just the way I go about it. People ask me, do I go to games? No. Why would I waste 16 hours of my day when I can sit there on multi-view at the house and watch 16 games in one day, take notes on that, come to the office on Sunday and Monday, and it's already posted on PFF. I can watch the entire game, and I can check. I go, hey, did this guy really play as good as I thought he did? Was it just two flashes? And then we can do players of the week, on Monday. I mean, it's such an efficient use of time, and I'm not the only one doing that. We got guys going to games, to eyeball guys, to body type them, to talk to the coaches. I mean, because we can't afford school visits. Now we can afford games, but we can't afford school visits.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, again, it's not just Drew making these decisions, getting to games, but you have an outstanding staff. You guys just announced. I want to rattle these guys off because, again, the Senior Bowl staff, again, these guys have come through, gotten jobs. They are veterans. They are guys that belong in the industry. So Jason Brown, Matt Dudek, Mark Gorshak, who's been on the program, Brad Jackson, Russ Land, friend of the program, JP McGowan, Bob Morris, Luis Ojeda, Dave Rosano, Michael Newsom, Jackson Roby. It's an outstanding group, Drew. Excited about this group. Again, been obviously some great meetings and ready to roll in the fall now.
Yeah, and put it this way, there's probably, and Molly had this stat last year. I don't think she did it this year, but I mean, there's got to be 125 years of NFL experience, with that group and me. I mean, just in who's on that list. And, these guys are good at what they do. And a lot of these guys I was on the road with. And, I know them quite well. And, there's a reason why I brought them on. It's because I know they can evaluate.
Now, Drew, when Jim was running his staffs, I think it's fair to say most of them were former scouts who were maybe trying to get back in. One thing I noticed with this staff is it's a good mix of guys like that, but also some guys that don't have extensive NFL backgrounds. Was it your goal to try to kind of bring them up and maybe make this more of a trying to raise up the next level of scouts with the people you chose for staff this year?
Yeah, I'd like to, and even with like the scouting assistants, I'd like that to just be like a 2 year gig. And I'm also trying to expose these guys to the thought about going to work in college too.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of opportunities for them to get into, because again, if a guy's running a college program, you ran a transfer portal just like you run a pro department in the NFL, and high school is just like the college department. Well, there's places for these guys to evaluate players, and they're sitting in my office. We're watching tape together. We're talking verbiage. They write reports. I'm looking at the reports. I'm critiquing them, and yeah, I read the reports, and because I also want to check myself because again, maybe I hadn't watched the guy since week one, and the area scouts watched him, the last 3 weeks of the season, and maybe blew up, and that's happened. I mean, Ted Hurst. I mean, that wasn't that wasn't me. That was the area scouts on saying, for the team wasn't great, but this guy really, elevated himself, throughout the year, and here we go, and that's what they're there for. And yes, I'd like to have a mix because I'd like to get those guys employed, whether it's in the NFL or in college.
Now,
Yeah.
I think there are 11 members of y'all's staff right now, and you touched earlier on kind of how that's organized. But Drew, could you go into more detail? Do you have kind of two people covering each region of the country? Do you have more people in the SEC? I mean, is it kind of like that, or is it
No,
generally
it's just like
everyone kind of has a lot of different areas?
it was broken down with like an area scout. You know, Bob Morris lives in Dallas. Well, he'll have more of that Texas kind of Southwest area. Luis Ojeda lives Northwest. Well, he'll have more of the Northwest and Northern California. I mean, and again, it's a lot of tape work, and you know, I just don't want guys to get overloaded. I want it to be kind of equal. Everybody's going to do maybe like whatever 35 schools, and they're going to do maybe 120 players, something like that. Um, and again, because I don't want to overload them because it's really not a full time gig, and I can't pay them a ton of money. It's more that they enjoy doing it, and that they can come down here and be down here during the week, and they can be in contact with teams, and they can possibly get a job, and then if they ever need help, I mean, I'll always try to get these guys jobs every chance I get, because again, they're good at what they do, and so no, like I said, it's almost broken down. The boxes are almost exactly the same as what we used to do in with the Cowboys. Here's your 12 schools. Here's your number A players. Here's your number B players. Here's your number C players. I mean, it's almost exactly the same.
So now, Drew, how do you mentioned the fact that you're talking to teams, and obviously you're very connected in that way. How do you integrate what your scouts tell you and what your eyes tell you with what the teams tell you? How do you kind of make those decisions? It's a difficult mix sometimes. How do you do that?
It is a difficult mix, but again, it's what we see. And again, am I going to listen if they say, well, hey, I got him in the fourth and we got him in the sixth? Well, then I might go back and peek at him, and we'll probably settle on him being more so like a fifth maybe then. Or if I see it the same way as I saw it before, I'm not budging, Bill. I mean, they can't force me to take a player that I don't want. Um, again, I would just like to have a solid roster. Because like Brad Holmes, he grabbed me on the field. He goes, man. This time with the NIL and everything else. He said, this is a really, really good roster. And he said, I said, does everybody belong? And he goes, yeah. He's like, everybody belongs. There wasn't one who went, oof, he can't play, or oof, he shouldn't be in this game. That I didn't get that at all.
Yeah. Well, and that's what you want. Again, you want the good rosters. You want an executive director who stands on what he believes. Again, it's what every scout should be doing. Again, you may understand come draft time that my Midwest grade, yeah, by the time you get to it's again, my grade's my grade, but I know that that player's not going to go there. And again, it's going to be the same thing for you having been in the room, being able to stand on those players. And again, it's a trait that, again, I have heard it is a trait that scouts must develop, is be able to stand with confidence on the grade you have. Drew, you're a veteran. you have no problem telling people your opinion on a player. We'll just,
Oh,
leave it at that. And, it doesn't matter who is offended, whose feathers it ruffles. Your grade's your grade. And at the end of the day, that again, you can point back to the film. And that's what scouts have to be able to do is, hey, this is why my grade is what my grade is, because this is what I saw. But Drew, let's talk about some players. Let's talk about some positions. 2026 was supposed to be the year of the quarterback. Man, greatest quarterback class ever. Okay, now it's 2027. This is going to be and it's going to be 2028 before we know it. But again, looks right now like we could have a good, strong quarterback class. Again, you've got Arch, Dante, you got Mestmaker, you got Lenoris from a talent standpoint, who was really like, there's some good players across the country who I'd imagine you guys are going to have your eyes on. Quarterback is always one of those spots. It can be tough at the Senior Bowl. Again, you end up getting a mix. Talk about this quarterback position. Who do you like personally? Who are you hearing some buzz on? And kind of how does this position shape up in your top 300 without giving away a day early that top 300?
well, I'm lucky enough to be invited to the Manning Passing Academy, and Archie has been phenomenal to me. Um, Full access, he's like, you want to go to team meetings, you can, I mean, Peyton and Eli, I mean, been great, and people, they coach their tails off during that. I mean, they bounce from every field. I mean, it's an incredible way to see. I mean, it was 46 quarterbacks there, starting quarterbacks, and I got to see some last year that weren't there this year. It's a huge advantage for me to get to meet those guys and be up close and personal with them, and then watch them work out. Gosh, I mean, I don't know if Arch will come out this year. I mean, if he blows it up and they win a national championship, yeah, he might. But people needed to like just leave his ass alone last year and let him develop and not put so much pressure on him just because of the name, because he kept getting better and better and better, with repetition. I mean, didn't the media say he was the first pick before the season even started last year, and he was the Heisman Trophy winner, and he played 3 games? And I think I told you guys this. I mean, I'm pretty good at this, but I damn sure didn't say that because, I mean, it was mop up duty and start one game when somebody's hurt. He looked good. I mean, CJ Carr looked good. I mean, I've always loved Lenore Sellers. I mean, I think I told you the comp on him, was Donovan McNabb for me. I mean, body type and all. I mean, the lower and just being athletic, and it comes off his hand just beautiful. I mean, he throws a great ball. Sam Levitt. I mean, Trinidad was an invite last year. Chambliss. And then it was just whether he was going to come back or whatever. I mean, John McCarron looked good down there too, and it wasn't about the motion. And I know somebody said, "Oh, no, he didn't." It's just now the thumb pressure. You can actually, handle the ball the way you used to before you messed your thumb up.
Yeah.
Kevin Jennings. I mean, love that cat. The lower mechanics are a mess, but it's accurate. I kept going like, wow, he's throwing sidearm and it's mud. It's coming off over the top and he's falling away from mud. It's accurate. I mean, Steve Angeli looked good down there. Biaba, and I'll tell you what, you guys know this, I am not a fan of smaller players. It's that bias, small guys wear down, big guys don't get any smaller, but like Noah Fafita and Demond Williams, for being shorter dudes, they can spin it. I mean, Dante Moore, it just goes on and on. Swansby, I mean, like I said, how many more do you want to talk about? I got to choose. I got to choose 8.
Yeah.
And that's all I'm taking.
Yeah.
And it's a great class. And if everybody comes out, it will be probably the best class that's ever been.
Drew, you mentioned an interesting name there. Would Soares be in competition, be one of the quarterbacks in Mobile this year?
No, he's in the top 300. I mean, I can't take that away from him. I mean, he proved it on tape. I mean, he earned the spot on the 300. We'll make that decision, and whenever we do make that decision, it'll be after Thanksgiving. That'll be when we narrow it down to $135 to $140 on the roster.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that quarterback group again. Lot of season to play out as we saw this year. Who rises, who falls back a little bit, who gets a nice NIL check somewhere to stick around or to move for another year. Again, what team, like you said with Texas. Again, you think about some of these. It could come down Arch and Dante in the national championship. Again, those are two of the top four teams by just about everybody. You could see some great head-to-head stuff and then get them down to Mobile and keep going head-to-head. Again, would be a lot of fun to see it happen. Quarterback, an outstanding group. Again, after that, again, it's patience on quarterbacks. Again,
Yes.
that's if we could all be more patient on quarterbacks with every decision we make, that's probably going to benefit the game at every level. Be patient. We'll be patient. We won't press you for any more of these quarterbacks. So let's jump to edges because again, after quarterback, you think about those priority positions: wide receiver, O line, and edges. Got to get somebody on defense. There's some really fun ones, some really good ones after a year where maybe there was a question on who was really that best guy, that complete edge. Talk about the edges that you like in this group, and who could we be hearing about?
I'd like them all to come down here and compete just to prove who is the best.
Yeah.
Out of this group. Just Quincy Rhodes was an invite last year from Arkansas. Will Help was an invite last year. I love Dylan Stewart, Damian Wilson.
Yes, please. Yeah.
Colin Simmons. Hey, you call me a homer, but I lived in Austin for a while. You know, Kareem James. There's a lot of them. Kenyatta Jackson. I mean, these guys need to come down here and compete and go, guess what? I'm identifying myself as one of those dudes, like Zion Young did last year. He helped himself coming down here. If you're not a top 5 pick, you better be down here because just in that first round from let's just say you're 18 and you go at 12. Well, on a 4-year contract, that's about $6.5 million difference. So ding, 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 come down and prove who you are. That's the biggest thing for me.
Yeah. What about on the other side? Because again, we've seen the game go more and more trenches. This is again a year last year where hey, arguably the most talented tackle is now playing guard in Miami. There were more questions. Who is OT1 this year? It looks like there are going to be some again, maybe more traditional. Like this guy's a true left tackle. Put him here, franchise type guy. This O line group really shaping up, maybe a little bit more veteran than we've had in the past because guys are sticking around. What do you think of this O line group as a whole?
I think it's about numbers wise. I think it's kind of close to the same as it was last year. I'm kind of surprised that Jordan Seaton didn't get talked about more than he is. I think that move for him is a great move. I think he'll show his wares against the SEC, and that'll help his stock. You know, is Gooseby? Is Gooseby going to be ready to go? Is the other ones that you're talking about a tackle? Um, like Pete, him flipping from North Carolina State and going to South Carolina. I think that's going to help him too. The guard class is good. Huge fan of Greg Johnson, Minnesota. Huge fan. And the center next to him, which Ashton Peters. Kind of tells you what he is. Great name for him. Dolzer, um, Lennon Hatchett, Cotton from Cincy. It's a good group. Is it deep, deep, deep? No. Um, but I think that's more so because guys are sticking around a little bit longer, like you said, in the O&D line. Um, and I know the league's talking about how when they're drafting guys now in the 5th round, when they're really PFAs because there's nobody left. And you still got to take 15 offensive linemen to camp every year. And those guys in that 5th, 6th, 7th round are staying in college and making more in guaranteed money than they would be getting drafted in the 7th round or going to the 7th. So I think the numbers kind of vary a little bit from what they used to. I don't think there's as many in the depth side, but I think the high end guys are still of quality what they were before.
Yeah, and again, there's a number of underclassmen who are going to pop into this group. I think as the process goes, that it's going to again elevate the top end of that group. And again, like you said, Drew, we're probably not quite there as the balances come back, the scales come back to balance with NIL, 5-for-5, whatever these eligibility. Again, we are still, that day 3 has been affected a little bit. Again, it's going to even itself out over time, and we're probably still in that phase where, hey, yeah, that day 3, 5th, 6th, 7th looks a little different than it used to. But again, you're going to find your players on the offensive line. And again, guys make themselves money, and whether it's move themselves up, force scouts back to film, which is always a big thing post All-Star game, or just solidify themselves. Again, those battles in the trenches. If there is one spot that everybody's lined up for, the biggest crowds follow that O-line, D-line, one-on-ones, some half-line drills. Again, those are two outstanding groups that guys every year somebody helps themselves out a ton and can point directly back to the Senior Bowl, to show that, hey, this is really
Keelan
we've got the ball moving.
Rutledge. I mean, went from third round to first round. I mean, that's fact. I mean, put it this way: Caden Green from Missouri was an invite last year, and after I talked with the kid, he's going to move inside, which I think is perfect for him. I heard he might have to go back to outside because I think somebody got hurt again or whatever. But like Lonnie Noah, at SC, I mean, he's got another one with him, like I said, Goldser. I mean, it's a good group. I mean, now again, like around the 4th round, it's probably going to fall off a cliff, But in those top 4 rounds, there's some quality players there.
Yeah. Well, as we start to wrap up, we're going to hit wide receivers, but make sure if you're listening, you get your alarm set for tomorrow. The Senior Bowl show is going to be dropping the top 300. A bunch of these guys we're talking about today. Make sure you're following Drew over at DFabe SB, Neil Stratton at Inside the League. I'm at Right Step ADV. Drew, perhaps the number 1 player on every team's board right now, wide receiver Jeremiah Smith at Ohio State. Again, the guy's phenomenal. He could sit out this year and he may still be the best player on boards next year. It's a wide receiver group. We've seen these guys going higher and higher. Everybody needs at least 2, 3 really highly rated guys. Again, that's just the way the game's going. Cam Coleman moves to Texas. That's going to be a fun one to see him in that offense. This wide receiver group, as we kind of wrap up talking position specific, we'll get some extra names out there. If there's any positions that excite you, but this wide receiver group, talk about the wide receivers and again what you're excited about.
Well, I'm going to homer this one because I think he's going to have a heck of a lot better year than he had last year. Ryan Coleman Williams.
Yeah,
and he's local also. And when I saw him at the SEC Media Day, he says, I've been looking forward to talking to you for a long time. And I think a lot of them are concentration drops. I think he'll have a lot better year than what people have. Cam Coleman, like you said, great change of scenery. Got a quarterback now that I'm sure he's going to get a lot more touches than he did at Auburn. The other one's Singleton. I think Singleton's going to get a lot more touches, and he was an invite last year too. Now he's back with his offensive coordinator, Buster, who was his offensive coordinator at Georgia Tech before he went to Auburn. So I'd be willing to bet you he's probably going to get about 10 touches a game. Somehow, some way, they're going to get him ball because he's explosive. He can ball live. Another one of my pet cats, Mario Craver. I love him. He bounced off the screen. I mean, I'm sure you guys remember that Notre Dame game up at South Bend where he blew it up and looked great. Nick Marsh, great move going to Indiana. With Hoover, that should be a good help for him. TJ Moore, Brian Westbrook, 2 really good ones at Clemson. And the quarterback, I mean, he was good at winning academy for So hopefully they can both get a lot of touches and be productive there. Those are kind of the guys that I'm really looking forward to seeing. But it's a really deep class of receivers, and you can get a real quality player probably in the 4th round. Now he's not going to be your 1, but he could be your 2 or 3, and there's a lot of value in that position this year. There's some that are just the same as they were. I mean, there's good corners and there's good safeties, but then it falls off a cliff. The linebacker class has been going, number wise, it's been going downhill for probably about 7 or 8 years. And safeties, there's not many of them. I think that's more because of 7-on-7 and the whole NIL area that guys want guys want to be offensive players. They want to get the touches. They want to, they want to boost their brand. And guess what? You know, there's some linebackers out there that are really, really good players, but after you finish about 10 to 15 of them, there's just not many left. There's just
Yeah.
not. And safeties is
And
kind of the same way. It's like 8 or 9 of them, and then that's it.
yeah, and that's one of the real challenges with those at the college level. Linebackers look like strong safeties at the NFL level. Overhang players, like, what is that guy? Is he a safety? Is a nickel linebacker? Is he just your best player? Um, has that become a challenge for you guys as you evaluate some of these good players at the college level? It's like, all right, hey, where are we going to put this guy? This guy is a 205-pound, really productive inside linebacker, but what's he going to play at the next level? Not everybody's Deion Jones. Not everybody, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah from Notre Dame was kind of that guy that had some success in the NFL. Like, has that been a challenge for you with this class specifically, finding exactly where to slot those guys?
Not really. The wills are will backers most of the time. There's a couple of bigger safeties that I would like to see as a will linebacker. But that's going to be up to the coaches. That's going to be up to the scouts. Because I can't just go, hey, once you come to Senior Bowl, you're going to be playing will linebacker. I can't do that. But there's also, like I said, it's more body type to me, and it's more lack of back end coverage ability and back end range. That if I walk him down and play him as a nickel backer, can he match up against the back
Yeah.
or a slot? That's where it kind of comes into, and that's, like I said, it's not somewhat ability, but more body type wise to me. That's where that those decisions have to be made, but I can't make it.
You mentioned that the pool of safeties is getting smaller. At the same time, the NFL seems to be erasing the definition of strong safety versus free safety. Are you seeing that the ones that you do see are about as comfortable playing center field as they are in the box, or are they still kind of segmented in that way?
I still have to say them in that way because Neil, to me, if you can't go red line to red line, you can't play. You can't play in the post. I mean, because if you can't make it from there to the red line on either side when that 9 ball's thrown, you can't run well enough to play free safety.
Yeah.
That's what your range has to be. So that was where my Mendoza line was always set. Because it's like, hey, that 4.65 guy, he's probably not going to go red line to red line. And here's the other thing, you know, I've got telemetry because of Teamworks. I mean, Teamworks has been a fantastic partner with us, and I know what these guys are going to run. And when I see like Nick Harper, 22.3, okay, he can run. There's guys I go like, okay, can he really handle the post? And I look at that, I look at the max speed and it says like 18.9 or 18.7. I go, probably not. So that helps me. The technology has helped me become a better scout because now I don't have to wait on those times where, because there's sometimes you just went, it was just that little, just that little area where you went, is he 4.60? Is he 4.68? Right? Well, now I know. Before then, and it was always, I could always tell the guys that could flat out fly. I mean, if you can't see that on tape, you're not very good. And it's those guys that are just right at that edge of not being quite fast enough, right? That you're worried about.
Yeah. Well, we're getting into the good scouting talk when you start talking about the red lines, because there's probably some people listening like, I don't see a red line on the football field. Like, where's that at? Well, go watch some practice film. If you can get your hand, go look at some practice fields. Maybe Google it. Hit me, hit Drew, hit Neil up on Twitter. Ask it. Oh, what is the red line? Again, that's real scout talk. I love it. Again, you start talking numbers, red lines, sidelines. Go ahead, Drew. Red line.
It's 4 yards from the sideline.
4 yards from the sideline. It is, again, something that most NFL teams, most college teams have it marked. It's a good marker for safeties. It's a good, again, fade line for wide receiver range. So, again, I love it. Real scouting talk. Again, you talked about doing your work as we wrap up here, Drew, but you are not just sitting in Mobile in your beautiful office there, listening to construction going on outside you. You're getting out on the road. I think you're going to be on the road later this week. Where are you headed?
Headed back to Dallas. I got asked to speak to North Texas, their team meeting. I asked to speak at SMU and TCU, all three in a day and a half. It's good for me to get in front of them. What it's about is what scouts are looking for when they come into the building. And then the last two slides are just how beneficial, the Senior Bowl is, to players. And they asked me to do it. I didn't volunteer it. I did it for Neil Brown, at West Virginia, and did it at Auburn when I was a general manager there too. And it's just good for the players to know. I just did it at South Alabama again for major. I'll probably go to Mississippi State, Alabama, Auburn on the next rotation through. But again, it's more that I get in front of those 120 players that they have, and they understand that this is the premier All-Star game, always has been, always will be, and it's important. And when you get chosen to play in this game, it's prestigious. It is. So that's really why I'm out there for. But I'm out there to help them too.
Yeah, yeah, and again, that's what again at the end of the day, what good scouts are doing, what you're doing, Drew, with the Senior Bowl, what Neil focuses on. Again, most people in the industry, I'm not going to say most people at the end of the day want what's best for the athletes. Again, we want a good fit on an NFL roster. We want you to elevate your draft stock to the highest level. We want you to go through the process pre draft, the 2026 season. We want you to put your best foot forward. That is what you are all about at the Senior Bowl. Again, I'm not going to say everybody in the industry takes that stance, but you certainly do. We certainly do here on Scouting the League. We are going to highlight that stuff. And again, listening, again, we know athletes on rosters, you hear it from your coaches all the time. To hear a new voice reiterate and put it back down that, hey, these things are important. Again, hopefully that will help some of these, again, young athletes, future NFL stars make good decisions, because every good decision you make is going to put you that much closer to being, again, a Senior Bowl pick, a draft pick, sign that nice second roster, again, get to a Pro Bowl, have a really nice long career. But Drew, as we wrap it up, again, we want to make sure we get people tuned in tomorrow. You're at the Fabe SB, Neil's at Inside the League. I'm at Right Step ADV. The Senior Bowl is just at Senior Bowl, and the Senior Bowl show. Where's it streaming? What time? That way people can set an alarm.
It'll be up by 8 a.m. every Thursday morning Central Time. It's on Spotify. It's on Facebook. It's on YouTube. It's on the website, and you can actually go directly from the website onto the YouTube channel and actually get it directly from there. It'll be posted on X. You'll be able to go through it. We'll have early teaser clips, that are going to come out like we did last week with Todd, which some of those were flipping phenomenal. My content guy Nick Wiggins does a hell of a job. He really does.
Yeah, awesome. Well, make sure you're tuned in all these things, following all the different spots. Drew, you've got a film-filled fall ready to go. There's going to be a lot of good football. We're going to see lots of new names. We're going to see some names fall off, but Neil and I always appreciate you being on, and I'd imagine we'll be talking to you again. Good luck. Enjoy the fall.
Well, thank you guys. Always appreciate. Like I said, I like talking ball with guys who know ball. That's a good thing.
Once again, it's always nice to be recognized as guys who know ball, because I've had plenty of guys tell me, hey, you don't know what you're talking about. But again, that's just what the industry is. So make sure you're following us. Again, I'm Roderick David at Right Step ADV. Neil's at Inside the League, his website, insidetheleague.com. Of course, Drew Fabianich, the executive director of the Senior Bowl. We appreciate you being on. Make sure, if you love football, you are following Drew, you're following Neil, you're following myself. Again, take your time on quarterbacks. Take your time on all these positions. Do your film work. Don't watch highlights. Watch some game film, because real scouting is about the time, the process, the full evaluation. So make sure you keep scouting.